Legacy Builders, it's Jen McNeely here with JWM Designs and Marketing, and in this video I am going to go step by step through my 10-step business plan workbook. I put this together because I know that there are a lot of people out there at the start of this new year. It's 2021, you're ready to take your business to the next level, or maybe you're just ready to step into the world of entrepreneurship and you might not want to do it full time, but you still want to have an idea of how can you grow your business, how can you scale your business and get it to where you want it to be. And so one of the things that's so important to me as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and also as an attorney is that I think it's important for people to make sure that they plan ahead. So many things can pop up in the process of starting your business or while you're in the middle of your business, and you may not be ready for those things because you just didn't have a plan for them. I mean, it's one thing to come up with a name or even a product or service that you want to provide, but how you go about doing it, how you go about setting it up, how you go about making sure that it's actually a profitable business, or if you need to pivot, you won't know that if you don't have a plan. And so what I did was I put together this 10-step plan just for you so that you can be able to walk through it. It's completely free. All you have to do is check it out in the description box, but I want to walk through some of the important key aspects of it because I don't want you to start doing it and being like, oh my God, this is overwhelming, I can't do it. Because you can, and I promise you, each part of it builds on the other, and what it's going to do is going to help you take your business to the next level, but it also is going to help you plan things out, things that you may not have thought about that are important. It's going to help you think about those things, plan those things out, and ultimately you'll see a success at the end of the year. And I cannot wait to hear what you've done with the business plan, and I'd love to hear about that in the comments. So before we get into any of that material, I want to make sure that you go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel so that you can get updates when I drop helpful tips or tools or things that I'm using. I plan to post a lot more about some of the things in the software and the different tools that I use in my business that I hope will be helpful to you in your business as you grow it, as you scale it, and as you take it to the next level. Why now? I want you to think back to a time where you set out to do something. Maybe it was to go to college, or maybe it was to plan a wedding or some sort of event. And you were thinking this is how you want things to go. But once you sat down and got in the middle of it, you realized, wait a minute, I want to change course. This isn't exactly what I was thinking about or what I envisioned when I first started out. Oftentimes, I don't know how many people I know, myself included, that when I was in college, I changed my major after I took a class and realized, you know what, this isn't really what I want to do. I want to do something different. Well, your business is very similar to that. All too often, people start their business out because they may think, or they have this idea of this one thing that they want to do, this one service or product that they want to provide, but then they get in the middle of it and then they see, you know what, there are other things that I can do and I need to pivot. Now, for some people, it's really easy to pivot, but for others, it takes a lot more time, a lot more money, a lot more resources, and they may feel like, you know what, I just can't, and might give up. And so the reason why having a plan on the front end and being able to see in black and white, where your business is and where you want it to go, it's going to be so helpful to you as you grow your business, but as you work in it and see the different things that you can achieve if you go ahead and have a plan as to how you want those things to go out. And so I hope that as you watch this video, as you go through these steps, you're going to be able to see why having a business plan and understanding it and actually using that business plan is going to be so helpful for you in your business. Now, with that out of the way, I want you guys to go ahead and let's get right on into it. So with my business plan, it's broken into 10 distinct parts, and you can do them all together in one day, or you can take some time to really think about it. I encourage you to do that, to take time, simply because you may not have thought of some of these questions. And even though I do provide space for you to be able to work through, I would suggest maybe using a notebook or a journal or a notepad to be able to expound on them, because there's only so much space, and I didn't want to over bombard you guys with way too much information or way too much paper, because you want to be able to print this out and to be able to refer to it. So as you go through the workbook, that's kind of what I want to make sure that you do, that you can see where you can answer questions within the workbook, but feel free to use a notepad or a notebook to supplement all the things that you're going to input. So I've broken the business plan workbook into 10 separate steps. They are the background, business description, target audience, money matters, model behavior, marketing 101, legal landscape, profit first, success story, and story time. And I'll go through each of these as we walk through the workbook. So the first and most important part is the background. We kind of need to have sort of a who, what, when, where, why. You've got the business name and just a brief bio of who you are. Are you an employee transitioning from being an employee to a full-time entrepreneur? Or are you, someone who's already been in business and you've been an entrepreneur or even a serial entrepreneur? Is this your first time, or do you have expertise in this area? Will you be learning as you're growing your business? These are all things that you can include in that. What are some of your skill sets? And so the other reason why you want to have a bio of who you are is because if you decide to work with other partners or anyone else, they want to know who you are and they want to get to know what it is that you do. And so the first thing I say is, let's get those basic things out of the way. You also want to know, why did you start your business? That's a really important question because there are different motivations and that might determine how you want your business to go. If you started your business to eventually sell it off, or if it was an outlet for you to be able to express your creative side. What is the reason for you starting this business in the first place? Because that's going to determine certain goals that you set for yourself in your business. Other things like, what are you looking to achieve in your business? Are you looking to achieve financial freedom? Are you looking to achieve some sort of social or community good for a group, maybe a marginalized group? What are the things that you're looking for as you start your business? Because that's also going to go into play when we're talking about other things like the business core values and whatnot. The next thing you've got to think about is, what are you willing to invest in your business? What do you have? What resources do you have? And I'm not just talking about money. You may have the resources of your expertise, of your time, of your ability to be able to bring groups or people together. There are things that you need to think about as far as what assets, what value are you going to need, and what do you already have stored up for yourself. In the last part of this sheet, I ask you to fill in the blanks. I help blank do blank. This is a very vital step because it's also going to be something that's going to come into play in the next sheet, as well as something that you're going to constantly be asked. Who are you helping and why are you helping them? How are you helping them? What are you helping them to do, to achieve, to get to? If you have a cleaning service, are you helping people not have to worry about keeping their house clean while maintaining their jobs or watching their kids? Are you providing some type of product that's going to help someone not have to deal or have a pain point? What need are you meeting by your product or service? You need to be able to clearly articulate that to other people. Step 2, business description. At the very top of it, you're going to see that I want you to write your 2-minute elevator pitch. But before you do that, I would suggest going through the 4 bullets that are below because those are going to help you as you create and craft your 2-minute pitch. Now, one of the things I always say is that you might have to start off with a 10-minute pitch and slowly start to edit that down until you can get it till around 2 minutes. The reason that I say that is because people sometimes lose interest or don't follow what you're saying if it's too convoluted or too confusing for them to understand what it is that you do or what service that you provide. And so I always say, if you can get it out in 2 minutes, you've got it. Less than that, even better. When describing your business, the first thing you need to do is to be able to articulate the products or services that you provide. People want to know, what do you do? What service do you provide? Because they're not going to understand whether or not they want to do business with you if they don't understand what it is that you do. And so I always suggest making sure that it's very clear, this is what you do and this is what you don't do. You also want to be clear too, because your target audience, which we'll talk about in another step, your target audience may be looking for something very specific. And if they can't tell off the bat that that's what you're offering, they may move on to your competitor or to someone else. The next thing you want to do is to figure out what pain points your product or service is going to address for your potential customer or even your business partners. People want to know, how is it that your product or service, how will that help me? Is it going to entertain me? Is it going to help me save time, save money, save energy? Is it going to provide the expertise that I need to achieve whatever my goal is? You need to be clear as to what it is that your product or service is going to do for someone. Whether it's entertainment or it's educational, you need to know what your product does. The next question is, what differentiates you from your competitors in the market? There are a lot of different companies that are out there, and most things are not overly unique, but you don't need to worry so much about market saturation as you need to worry about whether or not you are actually going to differentiate yourself one way or another. Think about it. You've got McDonald's, Burger King, In-N-Out, all of them have burgers, but there are different things about each of those companies that do something different for their consumers. Some people like the flame broiled, some people like the McRibs, some people like In-N-Out's flavors. It's really all about you and what you're able to say that distinguishes your product or your services from others. You need to know what differentiates you so that when you're selling yourself to your customers or to potential investors, they know what you do and what you don't do, but they also know what differentiates you from your competitors. In the last box, I ask you to describe your operating structure. And these are things like your key employees, your core values, your mission statements. These things are all important when you're describing your business because it's not just about the products or the services. It's also about what your business stands for and what it doesn't stand for. And you want to make sure that the message that you convey at all times when it deals with your branding, when whatever you do, you want to make sure that it conveys that sense of who you are, what your business stands for, and what your business does not stand for. Step 3, your ideal customer. This is one of the most important aspects of this entire business plan because you need to know who is your ideal customer. Who is the person that you want to make sure is always serviced by your products or services? These are going to be the folks that are your raving fans. What is it that your product or service, what does it do to make that connection with this ideal customer? And so what I've done is asked you to sort of fill out your customer's avatar. You can make up a name for them. You can say Sally the seller, Sally the housewife, however you want to describe that person. Create a name. Give me an age range. Give me the demographics of that person. Are they married? Do they have children? Are they younger, older, college educated? You want to think about all of these different aspects because that's going to help you and inform you in the products and services that you provide. Also, in the marketing campaigns that you are going to do, you're going to need to know where are these people that you're looking for, these ideal customers. Do they care about quality? Do they care about exclusivity? Do they care about creativity or customization? Who is your ideal customer? You need to know who that is because there's no way you're going to be able to achieve the level of success that you want if you are servicing everyone and not focusing on the ideal customer who is targeting your business and your product. As you look a little bit closer to the ideal customer bio, one of the things I want you to do is give a brief customer bio. I want you to talk about what their main motivations are. You know, if your product or service, they want things that are convenient, that will help them achieve a certain goal, or if they really like things that are customized, fit specifically for them. You also want to talk about what their goals are and what their pain points are. Because if you're able to meet the need of a customer on a regular basis, whatever pain point, that something that they don't want to have to deal with or do on their own, you are going to have a customer for life. You're going to have that loyalty because they know they can always go to you if they need whatever that service or product is that alleviates whatever pain or discomfort or whatever issue that comes up that they just don't want to deal with. Other vital things that you want to know about your ideal customer is what social media platforms they're on, because you need to make sure that you're on the platform that customer is likely to be on. Now, I know a lot of people are really going away from Facebook for different reasons, but Facebook groups and building communities on Facebook actually is one of the best resources out there when you're trying to generate new customers and new clients. But for some people, they're like, I don't really like Facebook, and that's fine. But if that's where your ideal customer is, you need to have some sort of presence there. You also have things like Instagram, TikTok, or whatnot. I'm not a TikTok fan. I'm just not interested in dancing and doing all that. I know there are other things that are done on TikTok, and there are some really great material and content that's out there. But I'm not really a TikTok person, but I do use Instagram, which a lot of my customers and clients, that's where I get them from, because Instagram is where they are, as well as Facebook. So you've got to decide and find out where your ideal customer is and make sure that they are able to find you easily because you're on and active on those platforms. Lastly, it's always good to know what your customers use as far as their go-to media. Are they more a desktop, mobile type person, or what do they use? Are they iPhone or Android? These things all matter because for some people, they don't like the labels, and so they'll go with some of these more off or lesser known brands because they care more about the cost or the price of certain things. And so they're more into, I want to get quality but at a lower cost, whereas others might be like, no, I want the best, the biggest, the brightest, the most expensive. So you just need to make sure you know who your customer is, because that's going to inform you a lot of things about your customer as you go on to advertise for them. Step 4, money matters. Step 4 is all about starting to get your head around the idea of how much it is going to cost you to get started, what you need to run a profit, what your profit margins are, and a few other things. If you look on the sheet, you'll see that I give you a few formulas for a selling price and how to find what's a decent selling price for you. This is only a starting point, but you've got to think about how much do you need to sell as far as your products or service to have the lifestyle that you want. And it's very important that you know how much it costs you to actually do whatever it is that you're needing to do to create the product or to provide the service that your business is going to provide. You need to make sure you understand your pricing models and what does that mean, like how much you're going to charge, why are you charging those things, and the value that customers will see based on those prices. Now you have to keep in mind, people are not necessarily going to pay you just because you're a nice person, but you want to make sure that whatever the price it is that you're charging, that customers will feel comfortable paying that price because they know that they're getting the quality or the service that they expect. Now that could be ranged from various different things. I mean, you can go on the Tiffany's website and you can find a paper clip for $1,500. I wouldn't pay $1,500 for a gold paper clip, but there's somebody out there who's willing to do it. So I always suggest making sure that you know who your customer is, because that's going to determine or give you information as to how you should price your items. You also want to make sure that you look into what your competitors are doing, and you want to make sure that you know how you're going to get paid. Is this a one-off thing? Is this a recurring thing, like a subscription type situation? These are all things that you want to make sure that you've tackled in your head, and you've got a plan for these things as you continue to grow your business. Step 5, we are halfway through. Step 5 is all about your model behavior. You need to go more into depth about your product or service, and so really get detailed as to what it is. If someone says, oh, I'm offering a new apparel line, well, what does that mean? Is that hats? Is that gloves? Is that scarves? Or are there jeans? Is that denim? Or is that khakis? Is that shirts? Is that shoes? Is it for plus size? Is it for maternity? Is it for children? I mean, I could go on and on and on. You need to be specific about whatever your product or service is so that you can be focused, laser focused in providing that quality and the quantity that you need in order to sustain your business. After determining what your main and your secondary products are, the next thing you want to think about are ways that you can upsell those things. Maybe you can add some customizations to your services or your product, or maybe you can have an exclusive line of your service or product. These are all things that you should consider when you are deciding the products and services that you want to provide. The other thing that you should always think about is how can you make some of these things recurring? Think about all of the subscription-based services that are way more popular now than they were even 10 years ago. Subscriptions are the way to go with a lot of things because that's constant money that's going. Think about that gym membership that you don't use very often. And I know I've been guilty of that too, where I've paid a gym membership for a gym that I've never stepped my foot in. They're still getting that money even though I haven't been there. And so those are things that you need to think about because there are ways for you to be able to generate money if you think creatively about how you can make your customers recurring customers. Step 6, Marketing 101. In this area, I want you to really focus on your customer acquisition channels. We're going to go a little bit more into depth. Now that you know who your ideal customer is, you know where your ideal customer is likely to be, you need to come up with ways and words and things that's going to attract them. Keywords are very important. SEO for your website and for all of your other channels that you're using hashtags, knowing all of those things about the different channels in which you can attract customers and that you can put your product or service in front of them is so important. The other thing you also want to think about is what is the journey of that customer through your business, from when they first hear about you to the final sale, and then afterwards when they leave reviews. You want to make sure that you have a journey and you understand how you want your customers to go through your business and how you want to stay in touch with them after they've purchased your product or your service. Whether it's recurring or if it's a one-off situation, there could always be another time where they might come back to you or refer to you for someone else. So when we're talking about marketing and making sure you understand your customer's journey, the other things that I want you to also think about is your central hub. Where are your customers going to find you? Is it, and when you're doing that, it's either your business website, maybe it's your YouTube page, maybe it's your Instagram or some sort of landing page. You've got to decide where your customers are going to find you. You never want to rely on any social media platforms or platforms that you don't own or control to be your central hub, because here's the problem. If they change their terms or policies or they don't like whatever product or service it is that you're providing, you may lose out on being able to access your customer base, and you don't want that. So one of the things I highly encourage you to do, that whatever your central hub is, make sure that you're feeding your customers to that, but also collecting emails, collecting that contact information so that no matter what, you always have a way to be able to reach your customers about your products or your services. And so that's why in your Marketing 101 page, I want you to really think about not only your customer journey, not only your central hub, but how you plan on communicating with them. What is it that your customers want to see? What entices them to purchase things from you? What keeps them away from you? What things are important to them when they're deciding whether or not to make that next purchase? Step 7, legal landscape. Your legal landscape is how is your business going to be structured? You've got different options. There are 4 main ones being your sole proprietorship, partnership, a limited liability company, or a corporation. Now, I've done another video on different business structures and why I think LLCs are the best structure, and you can find the links to those in the description box below. But you've got to make a decision about what you think or how you want to structure your business. This is definitely something that you may want to involve an attorney with, because they're going to be able to better advise you once they know what you're going to do. For example, if it's a high manufacturing type job where you're going to need large equipment, huge capital expenses, having a sole proprietorship is probably not going to be the best option for you. If you're going to go into partnership with someone, a partnership may be good, but an LLC may also be good, depending on what kind of service or product you're going to be providing. I definitely suggest that you speak with someone that's a legal professional in your state so that you can better understand your options, so that you know what works best and what doesn't. Other things that you need to think about when you are building those foundational blocks for your business are your business address and email, the founding documents like your articles of organization or your incorporation paperwork. You want to make sure that you have all of those items together and put in a safe place so that you can get to them. And you also want to have them scanned to your desktop once they've been signed and filed. Other things that you want to consider is, what does your state require? Because some states have specific rules depending on the business that you're going to go into. They have specific rules and licensing requirements that you need to make sure that you're aware of and that you have all the proper licenses. And you also need to make sure that if you're going to have your business in a certain location, whether or not it's zoned for that location or you have permission to operate out of that location. The other things you want to consider too are your tax implications, how you're going to bank and where you're going to bank, and other accounting and bookkeeping issues. These are all a part of those legal structure type things. Those are some of those fundamentals that all businesses have to consider and they have to do in the process of setting themselves up. Step 8, profit first. Going back to money matters, and now we're in profit first, these two kind of go together hand in hand, because what this is really all about is how much do you need to make yourself feel like you're a success, but more importantly, to be able to cover the expenses that you have in your personal life. I've seen too often where people start a business and they expend so much money on supplies and getting it out that they never really think about what their profits are. They don't understand what the term profit margin is. And so what ends up happening is that it costs more to do business than it does to just not do anything at all and continue to work for an employer. And so I encourage all of you that as you are going through the process of deciding your pricing and all of these other things, think about this too. What do you need to make in order for you to be comfortable? And then how can you grow that amount to become whatever it is that you need to have that extra cushion? Are you trying to use this business as a way for you to pay off extra consumer debt that you have? Or is this something that you want to make your lifelong dream, your goal, what you plan on doing and establishing as a legacy for your family? Only you can make that decision about where it is and what it is you want your business to do, but you've got to start thinking about it and planning for it in the future. If you look through the form, I try to explain to you how to walk through it to compare what you need now to survive and what your goals are and the difference between them so that you can have really articulable, smart goals that you'll be able to reach. You want to make sure that you are able to define what success in your business actually look like. Now, Profit First is actually 2 pages because it is so important. I kind of had to span it out. You're going to also see what your financial goals are and really going through that process and talking about it between how you want to be living 18 to 20 months from this point. You want to make sure that you know what your current household obligations are and what you expect them to be at some point in the future. I want you to make sure you go through this very carefully and closely, and if you need to create spreadsheets, definitely do that. Do whatever you need to in order for you to be able to have a better idea as to where it is you want to go and what it is you want to do. Step 8, your brand story. This is the fun part. This is where you can do things like colors and logos and all those sorts of things. And so I kind of set it up for you because some of these things are like your basic stuff that you want to make sure you put together. Now, when you're hiring someone to get a logo, make sure that they give you the creative rights to be able to use that logo however you want and that you become the full owner of it. Remember, copyright and trademark law, those things are very important, and I have a whole course on that for business owners. And if you're interested in that, I've got the link of that too in the description below. But all I want you to do right now is just to think about if you're going to have a logo and create it by someone, make sure that you have the rights to be able to use it. And a lot of times, not only do you have a logo, but you might have a secondary mark, which would be a name, a word, or some sort of symbol, or a favicon. So you need to think about those things too. And so I put at least 2, a primary and a secondary logo. You also want to have a color palette. It doesn't have to be 5. It could be 7. It could be 3. I put 5 because that's just an easy number. And sometimes you want to have that color that's your pop of color. Then you want to have your basic color, and then you want to have complementary colors. So it really depends on your mood. And there are whole theories about what colors you should choose, the mood that it brings, and what people see and feel when it comes to color. So I would definitely make sure you do some research on that. Don't just pick colors because they're cute. You want to make sure you pick colors that actually go with what your brand is, the customers that you are going to be trying to attract, whether or not they like those things, if it actually speaks to your core values and what you believe, and if it matches what your products and services are. Other things you want to think about are typography. Some people like sans serif, some people like serif, some people like scripty font, calligraphy. You make that decision. Just make sure whatever you pick, you don't pick just because it's cute. People need to be able to read whatever it is. I say 1 serif and 1 sans serif is always good, and you can kind of have a descriptive or decorative typography at some point later just to kind of spruce things up. But I would honestly stick with the sans or the sans serif or serif font. That's just how I go. Other things you want to think about too are just what are some pictures, what are some patterns, things that actually reflect your brand over your business. And so this is something where you can kind of take and make your own. This is just to give you a starting point, and then I hope that you're able to have fun with this, because owning a business, while it is a lot of work, there's some fun stuff that goes along with it. And I want to make sure that you are having fun. Step 10 is what I think is also a very important part. I mean, obviously, I think all of this is very important, but step 10 is very important because this is where you need to define your success story. Success does not look the same to everyone. For some people, success may be having a 6-figure income. For other people, success may be having the ability to work from anywhere. For you, it might be having the ability to just say no to projects and only take on the projects that mean something to you. Whatever success is, only you can define that for yourself. And so what the your success story part does is that it's going to help you imagine yourself a year from now and where you think your business will be. What do you want your business to achieve? Because all the planning in the world, what are you planning towards? What are you trying to achieve in your business? You need to have a clear idea of that so that when you face those times where you've got expenses you weren't expecting, or a customer treats you wrong, or they don't want to pay or ask for a refund, or you have to deal with the post office and them not returning something the way it was supposed to. Whatever it is, you need to be able to have something in your mind, in your heart, that you can grab onto when times get difficult. And you want to be able to remind yourself, I am working towards, and whatever it is success is for you, that's what you're working towards. Hey guys, I hope that you enjoyed this. I know that it was a lot of information to throw at you. I think that for some of you might be thinking, well, I don't know if I need to do this. I'm already in business, and I completely understand that. But here's why I think that you should definitely consider taking the time and going through it in your business. You just never know where things are going to change. Did anybody expect 2020 to go as it did? You probably started off the year thinking it was going to go in one direction, and 2020 said, no, we're going to do something different. But if you have a plan that you can actually create, and then you go through that plan, and then if you see that things are changing and things that you don't have control over, you're able to go and revise that plan to accommodate and to adjust to whatever's going on in the world around you. And so not having a plan, not having an idea of where you are and where you're going, when things get thrown out of whack like they did last year, you're going to be like, I don't know what to do. And for some people, that means they're going to stop. Some people, they weren't able to make that pivot during 2020, and they went out of business in part because they didn't even have a plan for where they are and where they were going. And so I strongly urge you all to have a plan. So let's recap. In this video, we talked about the 10-step plan for your business and how to be able to craft a business plan that not only helps you grow, but also helps you to be able to see the progress that you're making throughout the year. I encourage you to make sure that you review the plan throughout the year so that you don't go into one direction thinking, oh, everything is great this way, and then things happen and change. I definitely encourage you to make sure that you go through the steps, that you walk through those, and you really take time to think about those things. So your action steps for this video are to download and print out the business plan and start writing in it. Get you a notebook and do the extra writing that you may need to do there, but just start doing it. Answer those questions, think about those topics and those ideas, and then implement. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. I'm so glad that you were here and that you are finding these videos helpful. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them in the description box below. I love hearing from you guys. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so that you can receive updates on any of the information or the tips or things that I post. I am so excited for 2021. So many awesome things are happening for me, and I hope they're happening for you in your business. Also, don't forget that you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you've got any questions or you just want to reach out, feel free to go ahead and do that. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Until I see you in the next video, keep building, y'all.